The purpose of this video is to explore that question of, now that you have this passion identified, right? Something that fires you up, something that you feel confident about teaching, how do you kind of authentically and naturally integrate that with your content, right? How do we build these bridges between your passions and, the stuff that you're supposed to teach? And this can be kind of a tough and scary part for a lot of people. But I want to start with this premise. And the premise is this. It may not always seem like there is a natural connection between your passion and your content, but trust that it is always there waiting to be uncovered. And I have this analogy that I like to use, and that is this analogy of an archaeological excavation. So you may just have like a fuzzy idea at first of how, something that you love in your life, like a personal passion, might connect to your content or student learning outcomes, right? It might just be like a little tiny idea just poking out of the dirt. But your job, to build something that's kind of cool and meaningful and authentic is to take a shovel and take a brush and go out there and get that dirt off this idea until what's revealed was something there that was all along, which is this really cool, beautiful, interesting project that is fun for both you and your students. All right. So I feel probably the best way to start, helping you get a vision or an intuition for how to build these bridges between your passions and your content is to kind of show you how other folks have done it. So I'm going to start with a few examples from my own teaching career and projects that I've done with students, and then share a few more from various colleagues that I've had. Okay, so here is the first one, and I actually have some videos here. And so this project is a cigar box guitar project, and the passion behind it is music in general, and specifically guitar and stringed instruments. It's something I've done my whole life. I love playing guitar. I thought I was gonna be a rock star before I became a teacher, and so I did one better. I was like, how do I integrate this with a physics curriculum? And you may feel like, that's a stretch, man. Music and physics, what are you talking about? And the truth of the matter is, it's not a stretch at all. In fact, there is so much fundamental physics, almost an infinite amount of fundamental physics in a stringed instrument. First of all, there is this idea of how sound waves are generated, right? How a vibrating string will knock the molecules in the air, which create pressure waves that get to our ears and, stimulate an eardrum, which then sends electrical signals into our brain to the auditory centers that recognize the sound, and then the emotional centers that give us the emotional valence that comes with, the sounds that we hear in the world. So there's that. There's the electricity that goes into wiring the thing, right? This is an electric cigar box guitar, which, as you'll see in a second, I'll show you how this actually works. And there is the magnet in the pickup. There's magnetic principles that actually turn the vibrations of those strings into electrical signals that then go into the amplifier. There's so much physics there. And at the end of employing all those physical concepts, a student gets this. Cool, right? And so you can kind of see that not only is that a great way to bridge something, cool from my own life into a physics classroom, but the students now have a guitar, right? They have something real that they can hold and enjoy, and possibly a new passion, playing guitar or learning a stringed instrument. They also had to learn construction skills in the process of this. They had to learn to work together. There's so many little soft skills outside of the original content that is able to emerge when you do project-based learning. And that's pretty powerful. Okay, next. Another one of my big passions in life is rocketry and astronomy and space exploration. And it turns out that, you know, the concept of a rocket is this amazing vessel for the first 8 weeks of a physics course. There is this, all of Newton's laws you can find in the flight of a rocket. All of kinematics, speed, velocity, acceleration, calculating altitude, you find that in a rocket. Momentum, forces, air resistance, you find that in the flight of a rocket. And so all of these things kind of have to be mastered in order to be able to predict the height that the rocket will go, to create a stable rocket, to understand why a rocket is stable when you just have these fins on it. Again, a ton of physics content is able to be bridged with my passion for astronomy and rocketry, and in the end result is something like this.
Hold it when we get to one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And you can see another amazing aspect of that is, there's a public exhibition where the students got to invite their friends and their family to see their hard work pay off, and the thrill of seeing if their physics calculations worked so that they created a stable rocket and they predicted the right height of the rocket. Again, super cool. All right, number 3 for my own project catalog is my passion for engineering and Rube Goldberg machines. I think they're really cool. So Rube Goldberg machines are those little contraptions where one thing leads to another, and you end up getting some silly outcome after all these steps and all this work, right? So in this project, the students had to do at least 7 steps in order to get a candle to go out. They had to get a candle to get blown out, or be put out with water, or any method whatsoever. Okay, so where does the physics lie in this? How did I connect this passion for engineering and Rube Goldberg machines with physics concept? Well, it turns out, what is a Rube Goldberg machine but a way of transferring energy from one step to another? There is all sorts of energy transfers, at least 7 in here, at every step of the way in this project, and that is really cool. Students basically get this kind of very up close and personal introduction to this idea of conservation of energy, and I will share what the final outcome of that looks like.
Ready? Yeah. Yes!
Okay. So that is 3 of my own projects. All right. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to share a few more here. So I had one colleague who loves boating, who used the concept of boats to teach the physics of buoyancy. Okay. So they actually built functioning floating boats out of cardboard. Okay. That then could be used to race in San Diego Bay. So how high stakes is that, right? The students have to learn their physics so well that their boat floats and competes competitively in a race in San Diego Bay that other people were invited to see. Okay? I thought this was pretty amazing. I had another teacher, a humanities teacher. So my examples so far have been very STEM heavy, but this is a wonderful, more English humanities example where a teacher taught public speaking, rhetoric skill, and persuasive skills in the form of spoken word poetry. So this teacher loved spoken word poetry, and she was able to use that format to be able to teach these skills that she taught in her English class, mainly, persuasion, rhetoric, and also how to speak eloquently up in front of people. This teacher actually rented a space so that these students could present in professional circumstances with the right stage lighting, and in front of all their parents and friends, these poems that they wrote and created. And you can imagine the pride, and the authenticity of that project. Okay, I had another history teacher do something totally wild, and that is through teaching the Mayan calendar, they built this actual working Mayan calendar with all these interesting gears, and each of these little pieces of the puzzle, right, of this Mayan calendar, were built by a different group, and then they were all able to be synthesized together to form this full Mayan calendar. So here you're relating passions around engineering and art into the idea of this kind of mysterious and mystical historical concept of the Mayan calendar. Very cool. This obviously is an incredibly high bar, but you can see again how it's not that crazy and wild to be able to take something that you are curious about in your own life and apply it to the content in your classroom. Um, so that is all the examples I have here. I'll say one more. I had another STEM colleague who wanted to teach the scientific method through Mythbusters, right? He loved the show Mythbusters, and so the students would have to find these urban legends, or just interesting kind of questions. Is that really true? Does that really work? And use the scientific method to design an experiment that actually tested those things. And there's literally an infinite number of ways that the things that we love in life can be connected with the things that we do in our classrooms. And a lot of times there's a lot of overlap between those things because we picked our content for a reason. It's usually because we're already kind of interested and passionate about it. So with that said, I would like you now to take 10, 15 minutes, or as long as you need, to think about what are some areas in your own content area where you could connect the passions that you listed already in this session, okay? Where can you possibly connect your passions with different content areas in your classroom? All right? Good luck with that. And I look forward to seeing how some of these connections get forged.